Hello, checking in with the first 5 chapters of The Absolute Book by New Zealand author Elizabeth Knox, which is opens with um, um, Taryn Cornick learning that her sister has been, turns out, murdered by this this guy Webster, I think is his last name, who apparently just slowed down and then drove right into the sister, you know, basically killing her or injuring her to the point where she was then died. Later, he put her into the boot of his car, started continuing on where he's going, then turned around, drove back to his sister's. At which point she called the EMT, um, and Taryn's basically when this guy comes out of prison, she's well, he's going to be coming out of prison, and she's married a rich man. Not really particularly because she loves him, just because she wants kind of that security. Um, and she meets this guy who just basically she forgets his name. He's the mule skinner, which is like he's a guide in Canada, um, guiding around rich people on hunting trips, and he's basically there to just skin and preserve the thing, and basically make sure they get what they want. But she tells him everything. He's a very watchful, super intense guy, a razor focus, and he says she's like heroin, and it's like I think it's her thirst for revenge. And indeed, that's what he proposes. He appears in England. She's back in England. She is English, and says, you don't even have to say anything. Just say no if you don't want it. But other than that, don't say anything, and it'll happen. He'll go. He'll die." And she doesn't say no because she's really in that dark place, and he dies. And the police come to investigate. It turns out everyone's at a wedding or a get together. I can't. No, it's a get together. It's kind of celebrating an anniversary or something like that. And she's like, there's victory in her eye, which is what the younger police officer who's with him notices. And it's like, we should not be letting this go because yeah, she's got an alibi, but she's like married to a rich guy. This very easily could be a contract killing. But it does get let go. And then we skip ahead to her she's an author now, author of a book of, it's the Fever Library, which is basically, it's all the things that can befall libraries. Insects, damp, mold, neglect, fire, war, all the things that can happen. And she's getting interviewed by a reporter at the hospital because she's had some kind of strange seizure where she's lost the entire day. She was at a wedding for this, and has brief weird flashes of her doing very odd stuff. And suddenly police officers are there again, and they're saying like, you've been getting odd phone calls. And it turns out that her father, who is a famous actor, has heard about this and has called them in. And it's like, how you can't monitor my phone calls? Oh, well, we didn't. There's another expert guy who will be contacting you. And it turns out he's an MI5 guy. And she apparently got visited by a couple of kind of what seemed like Middle Eastern guys who may be terrorists. Who knows? That's kind of the cliche. They actually seem to be a part of a kind of a software company that makes RPGs. And they ended up dying in the woods around her place. And it's these woods which have all these caves that were used to store um, London, English treasures during the war. And oh fuck, how does it happen? She gets a kind of a missive because some but he's really interested in one of her footnotes, and it's a footnote about this box that gets dubbed the fire starter because it's always at the center of these of fires going back in history, but itself it never burns. And indeed, ironically, it ends up in the British Museum, and there's a firebombing, and it you know everything else around it's reduced to ash, but it survives untouched, and it gets taken to these caves. And maybe that's what these guys were looking for, but they've been murdered. It looks like one murdered the other and then bashed his own head in. So there's something really weird going on there. When she has her seizures or whatever she's having, there's this voice that says, "And the one that was not burned, the one that was in the fire that did not burn." Strange voice. And she flashes back to her childhood, where there was this guy, this assistant for her grandfather, who was really into her sister, her older sister, who was only 14 at the time, and this guy's like super into her. And he starts acting really bizarre and not washing, and he one day he's like in and he's arguing about like wanting to see the Quran or something like that of the family, and he starts burning stuff. He starts burning the stuff of the family, and he starts using kind of the same weird voice. I'm listening to this in audiobook, and it's the same odd voice, and it's like kind of quoting kind of a script, almost a scriptural, the things in the fire will burn, and and he's burning stuff, and they drag it out and they kind of jostle him away, and then he runs out, like his grandfather intervenes, and he just runs out, a guy who they'd never seen actually particularly move over a little kind of a shuffling gait before. So it's just very odd thing. And you're starting to think, is like, did the guy who ran over her get possessed by whatever this thing is? Is Taryn now getting possessed by this thing? Because it seems to be having full conversations with her father at her bedside, when she is not like particularly having that conversation, and he's questioning, and the voice was questioning the father about that fire again. So I was like interested in that. And so yes, and this MI5 guy is like really, really, there's weird stuff going on. This is very complex, and this is just the beginning. This is just the setup. And apparently her sister was really interested in kind of conspiracy stuff, like Da Vinci Code and weird, but much more esoteric stuff than that. That might have been like the baby's first conspiracy book, but she's gone on to a lot of other stuff. So very odd stuff. Very odd stuff. And it's interspersed with all the stuff about the libraries, like this conqueror wanting to cripple a city by burning its books and breaking its bridges. It wasn't a thing of making a threat. It was, how can I stomp these people down so they won't recover? And that's by destroying their transportation and destroying their knowledge base. And that's how you keep people down. He wasn't interested in looting or things. He just wanted them neutralized, and that was how you neutralize people, is by doing that. And looking at how libraries are being gutted today, and how the books are getting removed from the libraries, that they're becoming denuded places, and it's like that's how you keep people down, is you keep the books away from them. So yeah, that's what I've got so far about The Absolute Book by Elizabeth Knox. More videos later.